Hi everybody, welcome down to Bentham Golf Course. I am Jamie Millar, the teaching professional here, and today I'm going to talk to you about some of my favourite ideas when it comes to chipping, help you lower those scores and save some shots around the greens. So one thing to bear in mind is these are all my favourite ideas. I call them rules, but there's no such thing as a hard, fast rule in golf. We're all about trying to make what works best for you and trying to lower those scores the best way you can. Okay, bear that in mind as we go through these. Okay. Rule number one when it comes to simple chipping ideas, solid contact. We just want to make sure we hit the ball well. This allows us to control distance much better. It allows us to guess how far the ball is going to go and how it's going to react when it lands on the green. And then from there we can get our chipping dispersion to tighten up. So, how do we go about solid contact? Well, I like to use one very simple idea, and that is just to hit the ground in the right place. So, it sort of bleeds into idea number two, which we'll get into in a second. But we're going to try and just get the club brushing along the ground, making sure that at its lowest point it's brushing the ground roughly in line with the ball, okay? Nothing more than that. So there we go. So all I'm going to try and do here is make solid contact, get that club brushing the ground just in line with the ball. Okay? That's allowed me to get the ball up in the air and going the distance I want it to. That's rule number one, solid contact. Rule number two for quality chipping, practice swings. I so often see people not want to take a practice swing. Now we can use practice swing for, in my opinion, two main things anyway. We can use it to practice the ground control, ground strike that I talked about in the first rule, and then also to practice distance control. If I just step up to the ball, look at the target, or look at the hole and then try and hit it, I've got no idea how hard to hit it. What I like to see people do, practice swings beside the ball or even behind the ball, just somewhere where the ground is in a similar condition to what you're going to be chipping from. Have one practice swing where you try and look at the ground strike, and have a couple looking at just how far you want to hit it and get a feel for how hard or how long that swing needs to be to make sure you get the correct distance control. So I'm going to try and chip this one at that red flag that you can see there. Free practice swing, trying to make it get ground strike. Feel of distance, set up to it, go. Okay, managed to chip at the right distance, I landed on my spot, and away we go. Okay, so rule number two, for good quality chipping, practice swings. Rule number three in my little rules of chipping, pick a landing spot. So I often in lessons ask people where they're trying to land the ball, and the answer I get is I just want to get close to the flag, or I'm aiming at the flag or the hole, whatever you want to call it. Now, the flag/hole is our end goal, but the ball's got to get there somehow, and we don't want to land the ball up by the hole because it's going to run on past. So we want to have the ball land somewhere. I personally like to pick a target either 1/3 of the way or halfway to the flag, and I always like this to be on the green. This just allows me to predict the bounce better, because fairways can have big tufts of grass or low grass, and the bounce tends to vary depending on where the ball lands. So I like to see the ball land on the green, and I'm going to pick a spot roughly 1/3 to 1/2 of the way to the hole, and I choose my club according to that, but we'll come to that in the later rule. So now I've got my landing spot. I go back to my other first two rules, solid contact and practice swings, looking at my landing spot, trying to get the ball to land on the landing spot and run its way down to that yellow hole or flag. Oh, landed a bit too far, and the ball ran a little bit far. The really good thing about having a landing spot as well, if I miss my landing spot and the ball goes too far or too short, if I've executed with good strike, then I know that I've picked the wrong landing spot, and in future I can put that into my supercomputer brain that I pick a different landing spot for a similar type of shot. This allows me to start tightening in that dispersion when I'm chipping again and lower my scores, especially when I get around the green and I'm trying to save pars or bogeys, that kind of thing. Okay, let's go to rule number four. Rule number four, when we're chipping, we can use lots of different clubs. So this rule is about club selection. Personally, I'm a big fan of using my 58. I feel like I can use it in a lot of different ways and play a lot of different shots with it. However, I have practiced quite a bit doing that. If you're someone who doesn't practice a lot, changing clubs but using the same technique can be a good way of learning how to play different shots to different flags. So I've got 3 flags here. I have 3 golf balls. I would use my 58 for the flag closest to me, and probably for the yellow flag you see in the middle. This one up the back here, I could use my 8 iron, which I've got in my hand here, and play a lower shot and run it up more like a putt. When you're choosing which club to use, it's important again to go back to using a landing spot and visualizing how you want that ball to react. So when I'm looking at that shot up the hill there, I'm kind of imagining it like a putt. I'm going to chip it. It's going to land about a third of the way to the hole and then run up like a putt. Let's do it. So first up, I'll go my 58. I'm only going here. It's not a very long shot, but my camera didn't have the widest lens. So I'm going to try and land this about halfway. I might even try and be a bit funky with it because you know, I want to make this exciting. So I'm going to go a higher shot, try and land it about halfway and see if I can chip in. I didn't hit it hard enough. But I've managed to play the higher shot with my 58. Okay. Now, I'm going to go for that yellow flag. Same club. It's going to be a slightly different shot. It's going to be a much lower trajectory. More of a medium flight. It's not going to be a really low running shot. But again, I'm going to try and land it about halfway and get to run out the rest of the way. So I'm seeing this up, land, and then run like a putt into the hole. Well, at least that's the idea anyway. So, landing spot, good contact. Okay, setting up. Oh, just hit it too hard again. I need to practice my chipping maybe. Okay. Lucky last, so I've got an 8 iron. Oh, I'm going to play this more like a bump and run. I'm going to see this landing sort of about just at the bottom of the hill there. One hop, running up to the hole like a putt. Okay. So technique is not really changing. It's purely the club is changing. Yeah. Bit of a funny bounce, but it came out lower and ran up the hill like a putt. Playing around with the club you're choosing can help you play different shots to get to different flags in different scenarios. It's a good way to really experiment with your chipping and find out what works for you. Okay, should we move on to the last rule? Okay, my 5th and final rule for getting better at chipping. Practice. Seems obvious, but is often underappreciated. So, when I say practice, I don't just mean practice the same shot over and over again. I mean practice different shots, experiment with different clubs. So I've got my hybrid here, I've got an 8 iron, I've got my 58 degree. Now, you don't have to use these shots in competition, but knowing that you can do them, understanding how they react, it's all a good part of learning how to play golf better and how you're going to get better at lowering your scores. So, how would we do this? Well, I'm going to try a hybrid chip. I've not done this before, to be honest, so this is a bit of experimentation for me. I'm going to try a hybrid chip. Probably do this yellow flag, actually, give myself a bit of room. So it's going to be, I'm assuming it's going to come out a bit like a putt. I'm going to just try and land it just on the green, let it run out to the hole. Oh, that's a good option. That one seems like a pretty good option if you've got really tightly mown areas around your green, around your greens. Okay, it's going to run quite nicely. It comes off with a bit of pop and it launches up slightly. So if you're going over a bit of tufted grass, maybe you could use it there. What about if I try with an 8 iron? So could I chip the same hole with an 8 iron? What happens when I do that? Same idea, but with an 8 iron. Oh, I've hit it too hard, but it definitely came out higher, and it bounced forwards and ran quite a bit. It's another option that I could play. Different to the hybrid, but again, another option. So what about if I use my 58? What kind of shot does that produce? Could I go really high with it? Could I go really low? Could I play sort of a medium in-between shot? Just a bog standard chip with a 58? Well, in this case, I'm going to experiment. I want to try to play a higher shot. So I'm going to open the face up. I'm still going to do everything else I've been doing, but I'm going to try and test myself, see if I can hit a higher shot. There we go. A little bit too hard, but I can do it. Now, a bit more practice and I should be able to judge the distance. So use the practice time. It doesn't need to be long, but use the practice time to get good at understanding how shots come, how you play them, and how you can react to different areas. Chip off the bare lies, chip off the really tufty stuff, put your ball down the bottom, experiment. The fun thing about chipping is it can be very creative, and that makes it exciting, or it makes it a lot of fun. And I think that's something that's overlooked when we practice. We need to make practice fun because that makes us more engaged and that helps us get better. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed those 5 rules. They're not necessarily rules, ideas maybe. Go and try them for yourself, and I'll see you all again next time. Thank you. Bye.